And the second thing is kind of start to build up your evals or your golden set. So let's say, for example, that this was correct. We want this prompt to trigger this tool. I can add that to my set of evals. And I just click this button here, and I have 3 different types of evals. And this comes directly from OpenAI's guidance. So there's a direct, an indirect, and a negative. So direct meaning that the user actually typed in the name of the product. So this would be like, Canva, can you do X for me? That'd be a direct request. Indirect would be they typed in something that's relevant to the tool. So what we did here, I want to share a review, right? That's not naming the tool or naming the application. And then a negative eval would be where the user types in something completely unrelated, like, I want to go shopping this weekend. And if it called your tool, that'd be a bad thing, right? Because you don't want that to happen. And so in this case, we'd say that this one is an indirect. The user describes the outcome without naming the tool. And we'll go ahead and add that to our evals.
Cool.
And then last thing we have is the actual eval. So now we have one eval that we can run. We have this one set up as an indirect. And the way that I built this is there's 2 ways to run the eval. So the first way is if we open it up here, you can run it on auto. So what this does is it literally sends the same prompt and the same set of tools to an LLM and asks the LLM to decide which tool to call. And it can also decide to call no tools. And so this is a very quick way to test a bunch of different prompts at the same time. You can basically run your whole eval set through auto and you'll see what will happen. And so for example, this one failed when we passed it back over to GPT-5. And we'll take a look at the reason why. So let's take a look at, cancel out of here. Okay. So when it said, I want to share a review, we had the expected of view reviews because that's what happened inside of ChatGPT. But this is telling us that the correct tool to use probably would have been share review, right? Which makes sense, right? So we have these 2 different ones. One is called view, one is called share. Inside of ChatGPT, what happened is it called this one. But what we would have wanted is for it to call share review. And that's kind of picking up on that issue there for us automatically. And so this is a good example of like, okay, in order to fix this, we have to go back into our tools and probably modify the description of the tools to be more accurate. So ChatGPT has a better idea about when to use this view reviews tool because it accidentally used this in the case where the prompt was, I want to share a review.
Yep. So what does that look like? Maybe we can just look at the full cycle of improving performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we've run the eval, I'll show you one more thing in here. So that was an auto eval. The auto evals are like a great way to get a quick kind of directional input, but it's not necessarily going to match one-to-one with what ChatGPT provides. And so if you want to actually manually run your evals, you can basically build an eval set and then go through and just type in the prompt to ChatGPT, I want to share a review, and just log what happened, right? So that's what this is here for, is to just literally go through one at a time and log what happens with each one.
Nice.
But yeah, so let's say we want to make that change. What we do is we go back into our application, our hospital reviews manager, and we can either prompt our way through this or we can just edit it manually. So in this case, I'm going to edit manually. I'm going to go into the config. I'm going to find view reviews. That's my tool call. And we can see that this is the description that my LLM or my agent decided to write for this, which is display hospital reviews with filtering, sorting, and sharing options. And so what likely happened here is because it has the word sharing in the tool description, when I said I want to share a review, it decided to call this one by accident. And so we'll just get rid of the word sharing just to kind of clean that up. So we'll say filtering and sorting options.
So we're basically improving the metadata, if we think about it, like from like a SEO sort of standpoint, like they type in a keyword, they're using the title and the metadata to match it. Kind of ChatGPT is doing the same thing with these MCP tools it has available to it. So we're trying to give it the right metadata here.
Yeah, exactly. And these descriptions can be pretty verbose. I mean, there are character limits, but you can put in things like examples of how to use the tool, right? For example, I built a spreadsheet tool before and it supported formulas, but I needed to tell ChatGPT what those formulas were so that it knew how to use those formulas inside the tool, right? If it was going to be, writing any data to that spreadsheet. So it's not just about necessarily SEO. It's really just like, how should ChatGPT use or behave with that tool?
Makes sense.
Yeah. So clean that up a little bit, and then I'll probably just add something here like, this is intended to fetch existing reviews for the purpose of showing the user. It's probably not the best description, but trying to get more at the idea that like this is not for sharing, this is for retrieving information.
Yep, makes sense. Modifying that metadata to just get it called at the right time. And then we're going to keep iterating on that. And that's how we have this end-to-end cycler on evals. And we can run those manual evals, as you said. So is there another category of evals then about like how effective the reviews were, if we pulled the right reviews? How would we write that category of evals?
Yeah, so that's less about like did the tool get called based on the prompt, but more around like, did the user get the expected result, or like, was the behavior good?
Today's podcast is brought to you by Pendo, the leading software experience management platform. McKinsey found that 78% of companies are using GenAI, but just as many have reported no bottom line improvements. So how do you know if your AI agents are actually working? Are they giving users the wrong answers, creating more work instead of less, improving retention, or hurting it? When your software data and AI data are disconnected, you can't answer these questions. But when you bring all your usage data together in one place, you can see what users do before, during, and after they use AI, showing you when agents work, how they help you grow, and when to prioritize on your roadmap. Pendo Agent Analytics is the only solution built to do this for product teams. Start measuring your AI's performance with Agent Analytics at pendo.io/Akash. That's pendo.io/AAKASH. I hope you enjoyed that short clip. You can check out the full episode here.